Muraho, mwiriwe neza mwese. I don't think that needs any translation, but in any case, let's continue. Excellencies, ambassadors, high commissioners, representatives of international organizations, members of the Consular Corps, senior government leaders, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It has been some time since we last met, and it is a pleasure to connect today. We are delighted that Rwanda's diplomatic community, as well as our own presence abroad, has grown. This reflects Rwanda's vision and intention to open our doors to the world for collaboration, innovation, and mutual growth. The year 2024 was meaningful for Rwandans. We marked the dual anniversaries of Kwibuka 30 and Kwibohora 30, followed by national elections. So it was a very busy year for us, but productive as well. Over the last 3 decades, you have been with us every step of the way. And we see you as stakeholders, as partners in our transformation journey. This is why moments like this, when we get to interact, are valuable, and we want to always express our gratitude first and foremost to you all for we have benefited from this collaboration, which has also brought a lot of support to us, to Rwanda, for us to be able to continue making progress on this transformation journey we have undertaken in the last 30 years. For the North, we have had very good collaboration, support, and good results originating from that. From the South, we have had extremely beneficial, helpful relationship with our brothers and sisters on our continent. It has been a good journey with everyone. So I take this moment to thank you all very much for this. Now, you know, Earlier I was telling our people when the minister and the representative of the diplomatic corps were taking turns to speak, I asked that mine comes much later for a reason. Because first of all, I want to take time with you, telling you, expressing to you my feelings, my understanding of many things. This is an opportunity I can't miss. Even added that I wanted it to come later when everybody has had something to eat, just in case some of the things I would be saying may not go well with your appetite. But you will bear with me in any case. That's part of the lives some of us have to live. Let me update you on some of the key issues. Regarding peace and security and politics and governance and in our region. One, in our relationship with each other and the globe as it is divided and so on and so forth. You see, there are people who, and maybe rightly so, it should really be fine. People who talk about, a lot about, values and interests, and so that those must be fulfilled. I actually agree. We should all have certain values that guide us through whatever we do and over many years. But when you say that, what do you really mean? Do you mean values and interests for some and not for others? Or you mean values and interests that should apply to all of us, irrespective of where we come from? Now, if you have taken responsibility, a global responsibility to say there are certain values you are going to insist on, you are going to push for as hard as you can, and these ones should also come along with the interests as we know them. Still, that's fine. But it also gives you a responsibility to really walk the talk or to mean what you are saying. If you're talking about values, then I'm sure you mean that, and the first person to respect those values are those who emphasize them. But as we see things happening across the world, and I will not talk so much about other parts of the world. I will confine myself to our part of the world, the region and continent. Then I also raise another question. Is there a moment where the values, where the interests people talk about become incompatible with the truth, with the facts, or with evidence? I don't think they need be incompatible. It's actually possible to drive hard for values that you believe in, even mind so much your interests, but at the same time those could very easily be served by truth, evidence, facts, as you interact with other people and other parts of the world. Let me give some examples, and I had the opportunity recently to address journalists, and they were bringing up questions that are important. On my mind, there is this problem we have in our region. There are many problems across the continent, but let me talk about our region. And I'm going to do that because Rwanda bears disproportionately a huge amount of burden relative to our responsibility in any wrongdoing, if at all. And again, it plays out like that, selectively, and on the basis of the disparities that are in the world, where evidence, facts, even what is right, don't really matter. What matters is what somebody else must say, irrespective of whether what they are saying takes into consideration facts, evidence, or truth. You know, the problem we have in our region, in Eastern Congo, that has brought in so many countries to be part of it from our continent, but there have been even more countries from outside of our continent involved in one way or another, and unfortunately, many times the wrong way. And this wrong way, we are told, must be the one to prevail. Now, let me start with saying, if you want to really address a problem, there is no better way of doing that than bothering to look at and addressing the root cause of that problem. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. You just stick to the basics of facts, of evidence, of reality. You just don't come in because you're powerful and, the evidence is simple. We have heard the UN, the peacekeepers under the UN in that country for close to 3 decades. The continued presence for 3 decades, when they went there to address problems, means there are still problems to address, or that actually the first problems to address were not addressed. Otherwise, why would you stay in a place purportedly to address a problem, and you are there for close to 30 years? Normally you would come in, maybe it takes you 5 years, maybe it takes you 10, and you would exit because you would have addressed the problem that brought you. So what are the returns for that investment? Of such a big force, under such a big body like UN, and so much money spent on that, what is the return on that investment? Other than continuing to have problems getting worse. That also shows, or maybe prove, this will prove why Rwanda has to carry the burden of this problem. It is a way of escaping responsibility. That's the shortest, easiest answer when people ask, why have you been there for this time and you still want to be there? It means you didn't address the problem. So the easiest answer is no. But Rwanda keeps being part of the problem. Well, what that means, maybe you should get rid of Rwanda, to find a way of removing it from the map of, just find a way, like it happened 30 years ago. Rwanda was being destroyed to the point we should not be existing anymore. And again, associated with that, the very people who murdered people here in Rwanda, those who carried out the genocide, still exist, are still armed, are still practicing their ideology of genocide in our neighborhood in Eastern Congo, supported by government, supported by leaders in that place. On the watch of this international community that talks about values, that talks about interests, that deployed this UN force into Congo to actually eradicate, among others, that problem that originated from here, be it the genociders or the ideology itself. And people do it with impunity. And then arguments start. We have had arguments, again, through different quarters of this international community. Oh, you mean these FDLR, these genociders, but are they there? Are they still there? But we are told they are few. We are told, when you say, no, but you see it even in broad daylight. The statements made by government leaders. And you are wondering whether they still exist, whether they are there, or what they are doing, or you pretend for 30 years, you can pretend. Now the problem becomes, oh, Rwanda is in Congo, you have forces in Congo, you are occupying Congo, you are doing what? In this day and age, and even with Rwanda, its capacity, are we people who can actually do that? That limited capacity of ours, but even why? Why do you? What came first? Is it this problem that we have to deal with? Threats, daily threats, regular threats against our country and relating to our history? Or because of that, or in addition to that, we now want to become people who can go and occupy places? Really, the people, can they convince anybody that they even believe it, or they are using it simply as an excuse? Even if you believe it, why don't you find a way of denying Rwanda this excuse and remove these people from there? Because that is even in the mission that took there the UN peacekeepers. What happened? So then, talking about ourselves, I leave many others out of this continent, outside of it. When I see, I know leaders when I see them. I also know idiots when I see them. You can imagine the combination of both of them, the disaster it is. If you are a leader and an idiot, it's a disaster, absolute disaster. It is even worse, even more dangerous, if the very people who hold the power in their hands decide that they will be manipulated and played around for some interest by idiots. Really, it is. I have had interactions with many of our leaders on the continent. And among other things we talk about is If we don't take ourselves and what we do seriously, nobody will. Nobody will take us seriously. And we will always remain just neither here nor there, and people doing with us whatever they want without any of us asking, me, say, why? What is this? And then in the end, we start complaining about, oh, you know, this is racism, this is blah, 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 blah. Well, but I think we are the ones who drive ourselves in that kind of situation. There are things we need to be rejecting and doing so openly and without fear or favor. Why? Why can't we do that? Why are we not the kind of people? Why do we even need to have a problem like that one in Eastern Congo, needing a solution from the UN, from some countries? Why? Why can't we? There's no explanation. But at another level, we have a mix of all kinds of things. And that's why we open up ourselves for manipulation. You have seen, or you know, of a so-called group of experts. A group of experts, what do? What are they expert in, actually? They're expert in what? You don't need to be an expert in anything. You just have to toe the line of those using you, of those who put you in place, including the very people from whom originate this problem as of the history that goes way back to colonial times. The colonial times that divided our people here in Rwanda, in our region, and elsewhere. So they come, they are the experts to explain the problem. The problem is not that, do you know why these Kinyarwanda-speaking people are in Eastern Congo? By the way, we have the same situation, let's say, with Uganda. The southwestern part of Uganda has a whole district with a big population of Kinyarwanda speaking. And when I'm talking about Kinyarwanda speaking, I'm not talking about just speaking Kinyarwanda. These are people even who are relatives. There are people in this country, as we speak, who have their uncles, their grandfathers, who live across on the other side of the border, and others who live here in Rwanda. Like, for example, in Uganda, there has never been a problem to do with that district. It has never caused a problem between Uganda and Rwanda. No, they are taken as Ugandans. And we accept that. We're not claiming anything. Why is it not the same with Eastern Congo? There are simply Congolese who hail from Rwanda as of history, or whatever other ways They happen to have gone there. It's a fact. So, but if you are going to have an expert who is associated in a wrong way with this history to come and say the problem is something else, not what it is exactly, don't you have a problem? So are you going to be able to address the root cause of this problem when your first thing is to distort the facts and evidence? So that's why it is easy to blame Rwanda for it. We didn't draw borders. By the way, even the genocide ideology that I referred to earlier originates from that beginning of the history. That's where it comes from. So we go on and on and on and on for how long? So if you think Rwanda is in Eastern Congo causing problems, would you mind bothering to understand why would Rwanda be in Eastern Congo fighting there? Why? You need to answer that. It will lead you maybe to some of the things you need to address and not run away from. But to simply keep making statements, threatening, doing all kinds of things, let me tell you, we have been there. We have paid our highest price ever in our lives, this genocide. I don't think we can be made to suffer in all kinds of ways. We can do, but we will never, never, never go back to paying that similar price we paid 30 years ago. It doesn't matter how powerful anybody is. Maybe it will come to a point, if anyone insists on that, then that is maybe one way of wiping Rwanda off the map, because we will not yield an inch. Never. But we can work together to look at the causes if we are ready to listen to each other and address that problem the right way. But if there's somebody who is saying, no, me, I don't want to address it that way, I want to address it my way, and says, you see, if you don't allow me to address it my way, I will deny you this, I will deny you that, and I will take it to China, I will take it to Russia, I will take it. And no. But Rwanda is something we can do away with, don't worry. That is called babysitting leaders, and not pushing them to take their responsibility, but it won't work. One way or the other, it will not take us, Rwanda, back where we started from 30 years ago. No way. I know, of course, there are even some who, after 30 years, are still questioning, but what happened? Who killed who? Who, you know? the sort of pretense that exists is just what gives us that justified anger and above all the energy to fight back sufficiently. Now, again to the values. You know, I keep telling people, they come, you say, you see everything, yeah, we understand you, we see everything is okay, but you see, we are failing to explain why Rwandan forces are said to be in Congo. Oh, and I asked them, I said, even before we are sure of what we are talking about, can you explain to me why FDLR is in Congo and being supported by a government of Congo, and they have brought in Burundi under the same ideology and supposedly to fight M23, which is of Tutsi ethnicity, therefore related to Kagame and others, and these ones have no chance of living. They need to be gotten rid of. So you leave all that intact, and then you come to complain about Rwanda possibly having a force in Eastern Congo. What do you think you're really talking about? And then you say, okay, you see, you know, defensive measures that Rwanda has taken should be removed, and we shall make sure that, you know, FDLR, we get rid of it. That has been 30 years there and they have not gotten rid of it. And then you say, oh, we shall convince the government in Kinshasa. After all, you know, it is not the president who is the problem, it is his advisors, and it is, you know, these ones who are openly talking about genocide ideology are just some people. We are going to tell him to take care of them and to put them aside. I mean, this story has gone on. I mean, do you really think you are talking to kids or also who? But why would you even be talking to anybody like that? So let's leave the problem as it is. Use Rwanda, be silent about it, and we'll see how we can address it. And then recently, oh, Rwanda blamed, we didn't go to Rwanda. Rwanda, I'm friends with the Angolans and the president and Rwanda and so on. But it was not a visit of that kind. It was a visit to address problems. It was not a visit to have an opportunity to take pictures and... No. It's not going to be the case. The problem must be addressed, and it can be addressed. It can be addressed. We all need peace. Rwanda actually needs peace more than anybody, because we have already tested the lack of it and the meaning of that. And then to see the double standards and the hypocrisy that add up to really nothing. You know, we talked earlier about elections we had here and so on and so forth. And so people tell us they want democracy everywhere. They encourage elections. The person who is causing problems in this situation I'm talking about between Rwanda and DRC has never, twice, been elected. And you know it. You know it. But this is why I was saying it doesn't matter evidence, it doesn't matter facts, it doesn't matter the claim. It's just what you think applies to you for that moment, for your benefit. The rest doesn't matter. This man, Tshisekedi, was never elected first. He didn't at all. And you know it. So I'm not telling anyone, only that you don't talk about it publicly, I'm talking about it publicly. That's the only difference. You know it. The second time, nothing happened, and you know it. So, what values are you telling us that you beat up some people for, and then others you don't know what to do? So you think I realize that and really respect you for it, or even listen to what you tell me that doesn't add up to anything? So, I know I'm talking to innocent people here, all of us. Because some of you, even representing the countries that cause us so much trouble, I'm sure I don't want to claim too much, but I think you understand, and maybe you report rightly what needs to be reported. But in the capitals, there are people who, no, we want this to happen like this, and it doesn't matter what you tell them. But while that can happen, it affects you the least, it affects me the most. I can't afford to behave the way you want me to behave in dealing with this problem. I can't. It's life and death to me and my people. For you, it's just something you talk about, or you can call and give instructions while you are playing football, or you are playing tennis, or doing golf. It is as simple as that for you. But for me, just a blink at the wrong time, it's life and death for me. So I'm just saying, please also understand us and understand the people you're dealing with. We are not this same old idiots you dealt with 50 years ago. We are not. Not at all. Not anywhere near to that. So if you espouse these values, the values that are so much talked about, I want again to say there is no incompatibility in espousing these values that you talk about, and I agree with. And even fulfilling your interests. There's no incompatibility. So abiding by these values also must cost you something. That's why some truth has to, with our partners, we have been told, want you to develop, to prosper, to do this, to do that. At the same time, I remembered a story. There's something called AGOA, African Growth Opportunity Act. We were part of. It's a wonderful thing, really well thought out. But little did we know it was to serve some of us more than others. And what I mean is this. Rwanda, we made a mistake, a happy mistake. We made a mistake of saying, you know what, we have found some way of growing our textile industry because there was an effort, it is continuing, and please, we want to reduce on and even get rid of in the region, they call it chagua. Chagua, these are second-hand clothes. They would be shipping into Rwanda tons and tons of this. And they said, we can't grow our industry when we are giving preference to this. The next day, but we did it believing that actually this provision for AGOA was to help us make progress. And then they said, what was unfortunate, we agreed with some countries in the region to do that. And then before we realized, all the countries who had been discussing this matter and agreeing to the approach had been persuaded into reversing their decision, and they didn't tell us. So the next day, we were being struck off the list of those countries who benefited from AGOA, just because Rwanda's stubbornness. How dare you refuse chagua? How did you refuse chagua to enter your country? And we explained, we begged, we said, sir, dearly, we thought, so that's how we, so really, what is this that we are talking about? From that time, it's several years ago to this day, but those with the oil, with abundance of minerals and so on, and who are not stubborn, those are the ones who continue to benefit. So I pointed out all of those things. You just get a feel of what is it that is happening that we should, what is it that is right, what is it that is wrong for one to do and to make progress. You can't be sure. And meaning you can't be yourself, you can't decide for yourself, you have to wait until somebody says, I want you to do this, you should be doing this, including telling you that you should be making yourself open to some vulnerabilities, like you should keep quiet, you should do nothing about dealing with the insecurity around your borders. Well, but insecurity around my borders affects me. It doesn't affect you, it affects me. You're not even ready to help me to actually be able to deal with my situation. Now they start, oh, no, you see, Rwanda, they started striking us off some lists of beneficiaries for that. They even say, we have, but when they found out it was not the case, when they said, you know, child, something to do with the child soldiers. You know, I convened a meeting and I called the commander and said, do you have children in our army? He said, I've never known this. They said, no, sir, there is no truth in that. But what you are being accused of is that the country is being associated with child soldiers, or an entity that has child soldiers in another country. I said, oh, at least on that one, even if it is wrong thing by somebody against me, and there's nothing I can do about it, I just relax and keep quiet. So we kept quiet. There are things we can't have nothing to do about, and we can't do anything. So we just become humble and wait it out. Then we have operations in Mozambique, in Central African Republic. And by the way, for Central African Republic, were asked by the country to go and help. And they were also asked by the countries, developed countries, actually that we should help. And we agreed. When we agreed and went there, the country that asked us to help and even airlifted us to that place, we never heard from them a few months after. And then we were asked to do the same in Mozambique. We went there. Before we realized, when we were taking Mozambique and the partners and say, you know what, we are able to do what we can do, but we can't do everything. At least with Rwanda, limited resources in all ways, we can't afford to finance our operations there. It either has to be the country where we are running the operations or partners who want peace there and who have made investments there, by the way, after all. And we were left on our own. And when it came to some help that came from European Union, it came grudgingly. And you ask, they say, why are you grudgingly assisting us? They say, yeah, you see, some people are saying you are in the Congo. They say, no, yeah, but let's put that aside. Here we are in Mozambique. They are talking about Mozambique. So are you going to punish Mozambique for our crimes, for our offenses, for doing what you don't like in DRC? It is a bizarre situation. why don't you take care of Mozambique and help them? And for us, we are helping Mozambique. If you are helping us to help Mozambique, you are still helping Mozambique. It has nothing to do with Congo. For Congo, we shall handle that with you and anybody else who is interested on the merits of that situation. But the mix-up is so confusing that, so in short and in summary, and I should end here in a moment. The relationship across comes out as, I think somebody needs to give a direction. You can't have things going in all directions when you really want certain, if you want peace, there is a way to get peace. And that is addressing the root causes and doing things the right way. If you want development, you need peace. And then you empower and allow people who need development to move in the direction you can discuss and agree, but allow them to drive that. If you are talking about interests, I have said values, the right thing, whatever it is, the truth, the evidence is not incompatible with interests. But if you drive it in the direction that is messy already and think that is the right way, I think we end up with nothing. So, dear friends, that's why I said I wanted us to take our lunch first, and so that you can bear with me on all this. I'm sure maybe you don't need it as a dessert either, but again, I want to thank you, those partners of ours who are here in the room, with whom we have done many interesting things together, and some of which have tremendously benefited our country. And we want that to continue. We will do our best wherever we can, but we will also not agree with everything. And it's normal, and actually you tell us it is normal. Some of you tell us it is normal to disagree. So I think we might disagree, but we can also always find ways to resolve matters where we don't agree. That would be everybody's wish. And again, I thank those partners who helped us during the Marburg virus disease that we have overcome. I very much appreciate the help that came our way, and working together, and so I wish you once again, I have done that before, a very happy New Year. We are still in January, and I hope the New Year 2025 will be prosperous, fruitful, and a very good one for all of us. All the best to you.